Mastermind, I've created a new REPL and I've called it Mastermind so I can make sure I can find it afterwards. So I'm not going to need to worry about the files. So the first thing I'm going to do is just shrink that one so that I've just got my code and my console to worry about. So if I zoom on in to make life easier, okay, so for you guys to see, I'm going to make it easier for myself by making sure I put a title, Hangman by Miss Marshall. Okay, and as you'll notice as you run it, nothing happens because whatever is in a hashtag on one line is a comment. It doesn't actually get run. Okay, now your name isn't Miss Marshall, so let's make sure that you put yours. Now, first thing I need to do, as was identified on most of your lists, is to create a random number. Okay, now I could sit here and demonstrate how we create a random number from scratch, but it makes life a lot easier if we use a module that already exists or a library that already exists. So from random, import rand int. This will allow me to create a number between two values. You'll see that it's put it on the screen there as kind of like a tooltip. This will be my starting point and my end point. I'm going to end up creating a number between 0 and 9 and then repeating that step a couple of times. Now it's underlined in green because I've imported it but I haven't used it yet. So it's telling me that there's no syntax error because it's not underlined in red. However, I don't currently call it, so is it any point in it being there? Okay, well there is. From random, import randint. Okay. For, and you can call it whatever you want, but programmers tend to start with I, because we're never going to use this one, but it's kind of like a counter. So for I in range, and here's your first choice. So we've done for loops before. It's a case of how many numbers you want to create at this point. So for me, I'm going to stick with like the one that we did as a class example and have 6. But if you want to make it a little bit easier to guess, you could go with 2 or 3. 4 is kind of like the average. So if you want to go for the standard Mastermind game, go for that one. We're hard coding it in at the moment, but if you've chosen to have an easy, medium and hard, this number might change again afterwards. So I'm just going to put it in a 6 for now, but I might change my mind in a minute. So lovely red line underneath to tell me I'm not finished yet. So for I in range 6, so for 6 times, do the following for me, please. Now, I want to create 6 random digits, okay, all in order between the numbers 0 and 9. So it's kind of like the number I wrote on my card when we did it in class. If I go for it with just a print to begin with, so I'll print the rand int between 0 and 9, we can take a look at what it's doing. Okay, so if I return and run, oh, go away, there we go. So my number for this one would have been 3, 4, 7, 5, 1, 4. 7 was in the same place, which is quite interesting. And every time I press that button, I'll get as close to a random number as a computer can generate. And it's choosing them randomly each time, so I might get multiples, which does mean that all of one number is possible as I go through. Now, I didn't display them underneath each other. I displayed them as kind of like underlines next to each other. So in order to do that, I'm going to make some edits. All right, you can be pausing as you go along, so please feel free. To guess, value, end goal, random value. Kind of name this thing that I'm going to store it as. This is going to be my answer. Let's do it as that one. And at the moment, my answer is absolutely nothing. Okay. I'm going to keep that one, but I'm not going to print it straight away. Okay. So in this case, I want to add whatever was in rand int 0 to 9 to my answer. And just so I can see what it's doing, because I'm not going to do what you expect to begin with, I'm going to print it out at the end. So after it's done those 6 digits, what it's actually coming up with at the end. Unknown, can't do that one, can only concatenate string not int. So this one's created a whole number, but I've saved this one as a string, as text. Okay, well, I want to end up with text. I know that sounds a bit weird, but I'm not going to have it to do any maths with it afterwards. So I'm going to put str in front of my randint, open some parentheses, and then close them at the end. So now, no matter how I press this button, I get a random number of 6 digits in length. And the reason that we keep it as, oh, perfect, timing is everything. The reason we keep it as a string and not change it to a whole number or an integer with a number like 0 right at the beginning would automatically shorten it to a 5-digit number because it would ignore the 0 at the beginning. So it becomes 75,112 rather than 075112. Okay. Now I'm going to leave that one there as debug. So while I'm testing it, I know what my answer is. And I can even make it easier on myself. Yes, it's exactly what I mean, cheating. I can even put the answer out. So no matter how many times I run it and test it, I will always see my answer right at the beginning of my program. Okay, this video is coming to an end, so you might have some questions on the Google Classroom to answer first. Do check back there before you come back to the next video. So you should have a program now that creates your answer for you, or randomly creates a 6-digit number, however long you've told it. So it could be 4, it could be 3, it could be 2. I mean, if you've made it 1, that's particularly easy to guess. But we'll see. Take a look at it, how it goes. Okay, see you in a bit.